I think that's a big criticism of Canberra when it comes to people thinking about if you want to be into politics nowadays, it's not like it used to be. You used to have people that would go in that were chartered accountants, people that had various different professions. You had a healthy cross-section of Australia with certain professions.
People studying at night. You know, I go back into the 70s. I had an interest in politics in the 70s, which was the Whitlam era. I was only 14 when he was elected, but it was an interesting period for someone who was interested in politics as a teenager, which is not the norm today, so I admit that. But my father used to come in the door at night at 6 o'clock and there'd be question time, would be on the ABC radio and his transistor when he walked in. It sort of got me. And it was interesting times, and we had great debates on TV. The ABC had something called Monday Conference. And I used to watch it. My father used to say, you should watch this. Remember Bill Hayden was on it. And Bill Hayden was, I think he was an ex-policeman. And he also studied at night economics. And I think an incredibly decent man, would have been a great Prime Minister. Didn't get there because of Bob Hawke and the Drover's dog comment, which some people might remember watching this. He would have won the election. Yeah. Because Fraser had stuffed it up. But Bill Hayden brought in Medicare, or Medibank. Always got to be careful there. Yeah. And I remember on Monday Conference one night, there was 500 GPs screaming at him. You can't do this. This is socialism. Yeah. Now, that was in the late 70s, mid-70s, and here we are 50 years later. It's the backbone of Australia's healthcare system. But he knew everything about that, and he took on that great debate. We don't have enough people like that anymore. You know, I don't know where they've gone, but they're not going into politics.
Well, the internet, the universities, it's all going online. That's what seems to be happening. And the inevitable evolution of this show is a live audience with Q&A in a Q&A style. And that is really what's missing. I do believe ABC's Q&A it's become and I think we're seeing that with the ratings. It's not representative at all. The people that apply to be in the audience, it's all leaning towards the ABC viewership. And
they should look back 50 years and look at Monday Conference. It worked. You know, it was intelligent. It was real issues at the time, real changes in legislation, real social policy changes debated, or the minister concerned fronted people with their concerns or confronted industries. And, it was great stuff to be a teenager in those years. I guess I should have been doing other stuff, but that's where I landed. And
the battle of ideas. And that's what John Anderson says. He says, look, you can't get good policy out of a bad public debate. Yeah. If we're gonna have this approach, we need to actually stop at the propaganda and actually have that battle of the ideas, as Tony Abbott would say. We've got to actually engage with that. Yeah. But it just seems like it's all about propaganda and setting things up and lining it up for the legislative week. And
but I remember, I don't want to go back in time, but the question time used to be intelligent, funny, respectful. And I can talk about listening to Parliament in England about 30 years ago, and they called it Prime Minister's question time. So the Prime Minister took questions from everywhere, and it was respectful. Right. I remember listening, I thought, this is interesting compared to Australia's rabble. And we were bad then, but we're worse now. I guess Keating took us on another, and great orator, but quite cut through. Yeah.
Broken a few laws.
Yeah. And question time now is so sanitised, it's embarrassing.
Yes.
It's embarrassing that we have people who are elected to run the country having a pantomime for an hour each day in Parliament, getting their hair cut, putting their makeup on and getting people positioned in the camera and throwaway lines, Dorothy Dix questions. I mean,
picking the questions.
That's right.
Well, you can ask, as Senator Babbitt or whoever, they're like, okay, here's 5 questions. Which one can I ask you, Prime Minister?
Yeah.
So what is this democracy?
And the answer is, look, I'd like to thank the member who's a fantastic member for his question. Oh, do we have to hear that every day?
Yeah. If I can just take 20 seconds of your time, I apologise for interrupting this clip. If you'd like to support Turning Point Australia and what we're doing to help keep the lights on and keep the work going moving forward, please check out our website at tpaust.com.au. We've got a range of merchandise, whether it's the Make Australia Great Again hat, whether it's the other shirts that we have, or the educational maps that we have. Please go and support. If you don't want to buy any merch, that's fine. You can also support us by buying us a coffee and becoming a regular subscriber for as little as $4 a month. I'll let you guys get back to it. Thank you so much.
So, we've devalued and debased Parliament. And another view of mine, I think, when we talk about 4-year terms and changing, you just don't change federal. You've got to change state. And it's always intrigued me. the federal system, which, it was great in 1900. We're now in the 21st century. Constitutions are great, but should they be sacrosanct? They can't be changed. Well, surely something written in horse and buggies days, where it took you 2 days or 3 days to go from Sydney to Melbourne, is not appropriate today when it takes you an hour. So we have to rethink about it. And do we need state governments with 2 chambers? If we have a 4-year term, maybe we should also have the states being elected at the same time, so not this haphazard election cycle all over the place.
Yeah.
So again, waste the money. But you talk about productivity. My view is productivity starts when you wake up. Every day, how am I going to improve my lot personally? Government should be thinking how they're going to improve the social lot. Bureaucracy, how we're going to make it easy for business within the rules and fairness and all that. Well, it's a battle every day we wake up, and we've got all these rules and regulations, state-based, council rates. And I just walked up Pitt Street to come here. And when I was walking up from the ferry this morning, the street was blocked, because we've now got 2 lanes. We've got a bike lane, we've got a sit-down lane. A couple of people can sit in Pitt Street having a sandwich. Now, I don't see many of them. I don't see many bikes, by the way, but the cars are clogged up.
Yeah.
Now, is that clever? They're producing carbon. They're using energy going nowhere. But obviously, the Council of Sydney thinks that's good, based on something they saw in Paris. I don't know. I mean, that
Amsterdam.
Australians, if you come to Australia, the one thing that hits you in Sydney compared to, say, Adelaide, parts of Melbourne, our streets are haphazard. Some are small, some are... That doesn't matter to the Sydney Council. Let's block Pitt Street. We've closed off George Street. Let's stuff Pitt Street, and let's make it a quagmire to get in and out of the place. I mean, now if you put a productivity overlay on that, you'd say that's pretty darn stupid. It might feel good to have bikes, 1 or 2 every hour, but while the cars are clogged up. And so that's why I talk about 4-year terms interesting, but you've got to change the whole vertical, federal, Commonwealth, state, council. What's the right mix?
Yeah.
And should they all be going to the electorate at the same time so we get 4-year terms for each?
Yeah.
But and then the midpoint is the House of Review. It's almost like we're protest vote time, which is fine. I mean, that gives...
Sure.
Yeah.
Might improve the legislation, but New Zealand survives without one. Not exactly the economy is doing well over there, but it does survive without one. Queensland survives without one.
Yeah, but you listen to I don't want to be rude, but the quality of New Zealand Prime Minister generally has been pretty bloody good. More so from the right,
Sure.
But there's been some great Prime Ministers who have come out of business. You rarely see that in Australia, and New Zealand stuffed up because their Reserve Bank, for some mad reason, put up interest rates and followed America. And I remember looking at the time and saying, that was pretty darn stupid. They caused the recession. Now they're trying to dig themselves out of it. They were trying to address a housing affordability problem with a rocket when, yes, they had international investing. They cut that off. Speculation in property, capital gains free. They put up interest rates. Well, I think they probably lost a couple 100,000 smart people left the country. So that wasn't very clever.
It seems that way. New Zealand is one of the biggest countries sending Australia some of its best. So, yes. Thank you so much for watching the show. I hope you enjoyed this particular clip. If you want to support this show and keep the lights on and support everything we're doing at Turning Point Australia, please head to tpaust.com.au, where we've got hats, we've got shirts, we've got maps. And if you don't want to buy any merch, that's perfectly fine. If you want to just buy maybe a cup of coffee a month, for as little as $4 a month, you can help us get a small, long black to actually support the show and actually keep things going. Thank you guys so much for your support. Please remember to like, share, comment, and subscribe. I'll see you later.